Okay, let's come to order. The Harbor Management Commission of October 21st, 2025. I'm Chris Smith. It's the 21st of October, and we're beginning at 4:31 p.m. Let's begin with a Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, starting now with the minutes of the September 16th meeting. Has everyone had a chance to review that?
I haven't. There is a correction that needs to be made, a small correction. Eveline Harrigan's name was misspelled by myself.
Okay.
I had it as Hannigan. That's incorrect. It needs to be Harrigan, Harrigan. That was my error. I think we needed. I moved that the minutes be amended to reflect that correct spelling. Someone needs to second that.
Second.
All in favor? Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
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 All those opposed? Minutes are approved. Thank you very much. For my report, I begin with the most important event in this commission's world in quite some time is the welcoming of Jan Graham over here. Thank you so much. You may say thank you now, but this is a good bunch of people, and we're all working hard to do a lot of good things, and we know we can count on your support. Thank you very much.
I'll try my best to help you, and if you find any mistakes or anything, just let me know, and I will correct them right away.
Appreciate it. Thank you. The 2026 budget process, we'll need to talk about that, but what we'll need to have are this year's numbers, and then we'll need to get together with all the various different functions within the commission to fill in those numbers and then spell out the final number. And then I guess George and I, or maybe and you perhaps will visit with the selectmen to talk and present that budget, and that'll happen before Christmas or before the end of the year, right? So that's the process is where we are right now, and that's underway. So I had some discussions with Race about as many of you remember, the Tide Mill gates at the Tide Mill had been damaged badly in some way, and there've been some work to try to figure out how to fix them and who the responsibility was to fix them. And it came down to, in the end now, I think that DEEP has accepted that responsibility. However, the funding of it is a little bit up in the air and is kind of going back and forth. But the complexities with it were that as a result of those damaged gates, upstream landowners or people who live upstream of there recognized that the low tides, it was extremely low, although it's normal at high tides, very low at low tides, at which point they were asking what's going to happen to fix them. Meanwhile, Race, in discussion with DEEP and the DEEP's fisheries organization said, well, in order to allow for proper migration upstream, they couldn't repair all of the gates, maybe just some of them. So it looks like maybe some of that low water lowness will continue even after repair. But there's some discussion around who will now be bearing the responsibility of that. And Jeff.
Well, this is an issue that goes back, I guess, when we were involved with the Exide remediation project. And at the time, the gates had to be repaired and the dam repaired because there was concern about the contaminants coming downstream and getting into the harbor. But interestingly, Exide was the certificate holder. It was the approval of the repairs then was through what's called a certificate of permission, not a permit. and Exide was the certificate holder and was also identified as responsible for repairs going forward. But of course, Exide isn't around anymore. And the issue Chris made mention was brought up by upstream property owners. And to their credit, Mr. Zavoy was involved with this, and also Deep Fisheries. And Mr. Zavoy made a trip down to Fairfield and knocked on the door of the Tide Mill Dam, and ended up talking with one of the owners, I understand, or the owner, who recognized as the owner of the facility responsibility to move forward with the repairs. Deep thought that they would be able to get money to do this, and that the Fisheries Division might be able to provide some, or get funds from somewhere, and that perhaps the redesign or a design of repairs could include mechanisms or to allow additional water upstream during times of the year, and that they were working on that. And now we know that the facility has been assessed by an engineer, Race. That the need for repairs has been identified, and Race is working to come up with the certificate of permission application, which is also, I think good news, because it was also a discussion at one point about whether a full permit would be needed to do that. But now our understanding is that it would be a certificate of permission. And now most recently that they need to look for funds to do the repairs. But the owner would be Deep wouldn't be the owner of these facilities, these structures. It would be the property owner, the dam owner. And so at some point, Deep will submit a certificate of permission application to the Harbor Commission for review. There's nothing in the plan that talks about how they should be repaired, but there's policies for protecting water quality and quality of life in adjoining neighborhoods. So we would have a role in reviewing the application and making comments to Deep. I did talk with the town engineer about this. He's away today and yesterday, but said that we would most likely like his comments as well on the application. The conservation director, Mr. Bishop, has had some discussions. I told him we weren't going to be discussing it tonight, but at such time as we get the application, then we would also give any interested parties an opportunity to express their concerns or comments as part of our discussion. So that's a long-winded, but as Mr. Bishop said, it's been years since anything has been done on this, and in the last several months there's been some movement. So
we'll wait for what we hear from Race in terms of next steps, and then we'll see what a COP looks like, and then we'll
application and I imagine that that would be posted. The application would be posted on the agenda for the meeting at which it would be discussed, and that way any interested parties could also look at it and have comments or questions that they might like to add.
Yeah, we'd hope to have that for this meeting, but we didn't have that, so because their funding avenue had been changed. So we'll see in future meetings how that transpires. Any questions around that item? So the Lower Wharf Repair Project is moving forward, and it looks like there's going to be some movement on that with the town soliciting bids and putting the project in motion at some point in the near future, perhaps even this year in December. Therefore, we thought it prudent to send a letter from the commission, from me, to those property owners are in directly in that area, who will have some interested, who will be interested in the process. And with Don's help, we've got a letter to go to those residents, and I'm making some final amendments, but it'll go out probably in the first week or two in November. Anything further on that? We'll hear more about that when we talk about the Lower Wharf and up.
Chris, before we move on to, it might be helpful for Jeanette if we not take attendance, but let her know which commissioners are here for
quorum.
Right. So we've Jeff Warren.
Yeah.
Okay. Our master assistant, our master behind, and you.
Doug.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
George? Yeah.
Do we have anybody on?
You can ask. Is there anyone online?
Is there a commissioner who is attending by call-in? But we have a quorum nonetheless. Thanks, George.
Thank you.
With that, we'll move on to the harbor master report, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. About 3 weeks ago, we had a boat passing through with an engine that would not start to anchor off of Jennings, as most of you know, and he stayed there for over a week. We spoke with him several times. The concern being he'd break loose or just start dragging and end up on the beach, just like the boat earlier this summer off Penfield, and would become our issue as a, even worse, this had inboard fuel tanks and an inboard engine, which could cause a fuel spill as well. We worked with them. He finally did relocate the boat into a marina. He wanted to come into the harbor. He thought maybe that'd be good for a while, or Fairfield, but that would have resulted, I think, in him staying for an extended period of time or abandoning the boat there. So we were able to work with him and get him to a private marina where to straighten himself out. We prepared for the storms. You know, we had that big storm a couple of weeks ago, a little windier than predicted. Went out there. We worked with the yacht club to have a couple of boats relocated. The ones that were further out were brought in a little bit just to make it safer. A number of them were turned around to face the north to try to have less windage. And we had to retie a couple of private boats with the lines. The good news is, as you know, everything was fine in the storm. Just a sail cover came loose on one of the community sailing boats, and that was not a big deal. They fixed that promptly, so that was a good result. Went out after the storm, and I recovered a dock box full of PFDs and wine corks. So I rounded that up off of Pine Creek, brought it in. The dock box has a new home at Pequot Yacht Club. They are looking forward to using it for storing things. And the PFDs are drying out, and I'll talk about them in a second. Sunday night, we had another vessel run aground right off of the South Pine Creek Beach near the entrance to Pine Creek, believe it or not, a large 40-plus foot sailboat. The captain left Southport Harbor and on autopilot, and the wind, just without him knowing it or paying attention, pushed him right until he ran aground. Sat there for a couple of hours, but luckily, even though it was windy Sunday night, the boat was big enough and he was skilled enough to float it off without needing to be towed or needing assistance, and brought it in the harbor. Came in about 9 o'clock. We checked with them and everything was fine. The vessel was not taking on water. Rudder was still working, so he was lucky. And learned a lesson about not setting autopilot and going below when you have to clear a lighthouse, especially as you know that area with sunken islands. It's not somewhere you want to be anywhere near shore with anything with a keel, particularly with the tide going down. John and I are going to training with Online Mooring coming up, I think in 2 weeks now, their annual training class, teaching us about the software and any changes. And at the appropriate time, Mr. Chairman, I'd like to bring up something. A Boy Scout contacted me about the possibility of constructing a PFD loaner rack at Yee Yacht Yard. This is something that I know we have one at South Benson and other marinas are having. Scouts are building these, and they put life jackets on them, so if you need one for a child or another adult, or you show up with your paddleboard and you forgot one, you can grab it and borrow it and put them back, and they've been very successful. And I suppose that's really a park commission. You know, I don't know if we need to get our fingerprints on it, if you need as a commission to endorse the idea, or we should go to the town first. He just approached me and I said I would talk to you folks about that possibility.
So that's a good point. I think it's a Parks and Rec item, you know, but, you know, maybe we could endorse it, you know, if it's not a vote to approve, but
right.
Would there be any objection to endorsing such a Boy Scout activity there? I mean, I can't imagine we would, but.
And you've seen them, they're just a rack, kind of like a coat rack with a sign, you know, free to borrow, put back, and there's no really downside. We can put it by the kayak racks, the community sailing kayak racks,
yeah,
by the ramp where most people would go in looking for it, and then publicize it with our emails.
I mean, I think if you contact Parks and Rec, or if you'd like, I will, but,
I can reach out to them.
I mean, just to say, and Harbor Management Commission, you know.
No objection to this.
More than that, I mean, we endorse it.
Support.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We endorse it, so.
Thank you. And that's it.
Thank you.
Boats are starting to come out.
They are.
Because we've had such a glorious sailing and boating fall.
Has your boat arrived?
No, my boat has not arrived. I talked to them earlier this week. All the component parts are there. The hull is made, the console is made, the engine is there, every piece of equipment we need is there, the electronics. They're almost done making the metal frame to hold up the fly bridge on it, or not the fly bridge, the T-top frame. They said soon. So probably not this season, and that makes sense. You know, and I talked to Rex Marine, which we can talk when you start preparing the budget. I have numbers for the engine. It's going to need a 20-hour service. So the original thought was, do we put it in now, not painted, to watch the water line where it's going to be, mark the water line, run 20 hours on it and bring it in, or it's just as easy to put it in the spring. When it gets 20 hours, haul it out, bring it to them. Rex said, because it's a harbor master boat, they can get it right back quickly. It won't sit waiting. They can do a quick oil change on it and get it right back in service again. So
it's on a trailer.
It comes with a trailer. It's on a trailer, so you can tow it there.
If I recall, you said it'd spend the winter at Parks and, or,
I was thinking the winter, spending it where the other boats are, next to the One Rod Highway, next to the fire training center where we store other equipment. It might be a best spot, the safest spot to put it.
Yeah, I mean, I think when we get towards the budget discussions, we'll want to put a little bit more definition on the cost of maintenance.
Correct.
I mean, it can't be a whole lot. I mean,
No, the number.
The engine's under warranty too.
Yeah, you know, it's parts are a couple $100, and you know, if we bottom painted, unless you guys want to all chip in, we can do it ourselves if anybody wants. Or we can paint it.
6-pack of beer and
It's not hard.
not for the minutes.
And covering it, you know, we could talk about all that. And speaking of boats, one other thing, the fire department reached out to me, the deputy chief, because the fire department is getting 2 new boats. One of them is going to be I want to call it steel hull or metal hull, I forget the name, it's a big 35-foot, I believe, boat they're going to keep in South Benson. For Southport, they're replacing the boat they have in Southport with a 25 or 26-foot safe boat. So they want to know where they can...
What's a safe boat?
That's the one, it's like the police boat with it's the manufacturer. It's got the pontoons on it, so solid.
It looks
pontoon.
like a rib, but it's not a rib.
Correct, it's a solid pontoon, it's not a rib. And then it's made by a company called Safe Boat. I think our police boat is one, the big police boat. And they want to know where they can moor it. And I said, well, that's a problem, because they had some ideas of where to put it off of Lower Wharf, where there's no water. You know, we have several moorings there. It may look like there's water, as you know, but certainly there is no water at low tide. That dock, that private dock, sits on the mud, as does this boat at low tide. There's a boat there. So we have to talk to them a little bit about what ideas I had for where they can put their boat. And probably should have done it before you ordered it, but not the way it's coming. You have to find a garage to fit.
Because, I mean, the current fireboat's at the end of the dock.
At the end of the dock. So I was thinking that what we could probably do is put the harbor master boat on one end next to it, where our little one is now, put it at that T, and a third T, maybe extend it a little bit to put that boat, to put it, you know, there. It's probably the best spot for the boat, because it's the fastest spot out. Otherwise, we don't, you know, sticking it at a mooring, they would need a dinghy.
Yeah.
They thought they would just drop a dock off of Lower Wharf, a ramp coming off of Lower Wharf to their dock by that really nice sandy area, but there's no water there. And off of Perry Green, you know, run a pulley system, and that's an option, I guess, giving them one of those spots if they're willing to get the boat in.
It's not
quick either, and there's no, the only docks we have are Ye Yacht Yard, or the metal one, and they can't take the backside of the metal, and they could, but that means that then those dinghies have nowhere to go. Community sailing is at the end. That would be an ideal spot, but the ideals are there. It's for community sailing, so it doesn't work there either. So I'm going to be meeting with them. We have a few months to talk about it, and I'll talk to you folks as to what we come up with and try to add a solution for them.
Can any of the dinghies on the inside of the metal dock find their way around to the inside of the wooden dock, the yacht yard, or is it too low?
And no, the thing is, historically, people put the dinghies, with a lot of them with oars there, because they paddle out to their boat. Like when I used to paddle to my boat before I got the whaler, I didn't want to go all the way from the Lower Wharf and have to paddle all the way down to the traffic aisle over, and that's why they kind of leave them there. In theory, we could relocate them, but for both the size they have, they're going to need a bunch of space. So, and I'm not sure if we can add different if we could put a finger off of the town could put a finger off of the metal one heading in along the bulkhead towards shore, putting some more dinghies there, that might be a possibility where it comes down on that metal thing. At the base, we can run something this way that the town could perhaps do, or the fire department could pay for, to move boats to give them room to park their boat. Because I told them they can't park it where the police boat spot is either, because, as you know, that would take up half of the metal dock where people in the harbor pull all the time for maintenance and pick up people. And during the summer, you'll have 2 boats there a lot, coming in, going out. A lot of activity happens there. So we have to think about how we make this work.
One other thing to clarify. I know that presently when we reimburse, the Harbor Management Commission reimburses you for your fuel costs using your boat. I remember we discussed fuel back in June when David Becker was here, but I don't remember if the decision was made that the town would cover fuel and maintenance or just maintenance. I don't remember. It's probably in the minutes or in the recording, and we can find that, but do you have a memory?
I know maintenance they were going to cover. So how they cover it, whether they put it in our budget and a line item for us to control out of our checks when we put in for reimbursement, or whether it comes out of police, fire, emergency management or something.
I think the budget that we received from the town is what they were speaking about, paying for the fuel and stuff. We already have a line item in our budget that comes from the town that covers his
Fuel.
Now, fuel's been very low. That number's been very low because I can't go far with the way we're.
That might change though.
Does the new boat have an internal fuel tank or external tanks?
It has a, what do you call it, no, portable tank.
Okay.
What do you call that?
When you put it in to do the lines for painting?
Yeah, so
What
I talked to Rex and what they suggested you never know where it's exactly going to be, the line. They said the best thing we like doing is, instead of listening to the manufacturer, put it in, put fuel, put some people on the boat, and just watch it for a little bit, see what it looks like the line is, and then, or they'll do it at their location, and they'll mark it exactly where the line should be, and then do its first painting. And then especially, if they put something else, because it's new, they have to do something to the hull, instead of just putting layers and layers of paint in it. I figured we'd talk more about that, but you're right, you have to get the right level with the fuel and where it's sitting and what other things I put on the boat, which aren't really heavy, the stuff I have.
Yeah, well, I was just thinking from fall to winter, if it was internal, you wouldn't want to fill it right before the winter.
Oh, no, I wouldn't.
Waiting, but if it's external, it doesn't matter.
No.
Why don't we keep moving along? We got a few items on the agenda here. Number 1, an old business, I'm sorry.
I'm done.
Old business is really a new business item for you, Doug. Would you fill us in on nominating committee?
Yes, thank you. A few things to report on nominating committee. It's looking like right now we'll have 2, probably 3 vacancies to fill. One is an alternate and 2 would be commissioners whose terms are ending. So we've gotten notification of that, at least 2 of the 3. The third is through a bunch of outreach and has just not responded, so I'm working that there were likely to be 3 vacancies. So that would be the first part. Don and George have been very helpful in directing candidates who are showing interest into the town to follow the process of submitting some applications. And so now that I think we have a sense of the vacancies, I had reached out to Jennifer on it, but Jennifer, I'll reach out to you too, just about posting something on the town site about vacancies to be filled.
Yes.
And then we'll encourage people who are interested in becoming either an alternate or a commissioner to apply. I also think coming into the November meeting, there will be some discussion about the bridge for the HMC, because one of the vacancies is an officer for the HMC. So I think there'll probably be, if there are any commissioners who have an interest in serving on the bridge. Similarly, I'd indicate your interest either to Commissioner Smith or to me.
To you would be more
Okay.
appropriate, I think. But the next step would be in November, we will look at the slate. In December we vote. No, we vote in November, and we're installed by December.
I think last go round we actually voted in December. If we're ready as early as November, we can. I think that the nominating committee would make some recommendations to present to the HMC, and we could potentially vote right then at the meeting, or if there's further discussion, we could delay it until the December meeting,
Okay.
as it relates to the slate. And then, we would think that for the November meeting, that we'll have a clear handle on the vacancies. As I said, there's one right now that I think is probable, but haven't affirmed that it's confirmed yet that it's a vacancy. And also share a pool of candidates to make some recommendations there that we would submit into the town. The only other thing that I wanted to do in the last call, I was on by phone, not in the meeting. And so I know that Don and George have been very helpful with candidates, but I'd like to get some clarity on the nominating committee. We've not met as a committee. There's been individual outreach between some commissioners and some candidates, and I've reached out to commissioners just about their terms. But if we want to get together as a committee, I'd like to know who the committee is so we can organize that. Can we just, I don't know if the two of you are the nominating committee or if it's just me, so.
Actually, it was you and Jeff.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I remember volunteering.
I haven't-
Great, thank you. I wasn't.
I have that in my notes.
I wasn't in the last meeting, so.
What I did was, because I'm active in community sailing in Fairfield, was I sent an email around to our membership talking about the fact that there were likely to be openings, and I described what we do and gave people some links to some websites, to our website, and we got some expressions of interest. I directed those people to go to the appointment process page at the town website,
Right.
and they were to have completed the applications. One note related to this, I think I got 4 responses of interest, 4 expressions of interest. 2 of those 4 people politely took themselves out of consideration when they learned that our meetings were at 4:30 p.m. on Tuesday. That was an obstacle for them because they were working and they couldn't fit it in. I didn't make that clear at the outset. So I say this because eventually you're going to have to come up with the dates and times for the meetings for 2026. I know historically it's been 4:30 on the 3rd Tuesday of the month. You may possibly want to just talk about that, given that basically people who are not retired might find that problematic.
So, good point. It was at 4. I think we moved it to 4:30 to accommodate somebody was coming from the city or something like that at the time, I remember. But be that as it may, if Jeff and Doug are having a hard time coming up with candidates who are viable, then maybe we need to reconsider that and have the meeting start at maybe 7 or something like that, or bearing in mind, I mean, a lot of people attend by phone too, so that's okay. Then we'll vote on officers in December.
You say so?
I think so, because at that point we will have either we will vote in November or we'll vote in December for candidates, and at that point we'll be able to vote for officers.
And Jeff, following the meeting, I'll bring you up to speed just on the interest and discussions to date, and then we can start to work on outreach for new candidates and slate.
And the candidates themselves, as Don mentioned, need to get on the website for the town and fill that application. It then needs to then be vetted by you two and then put forward as a nominating slate to the to the selectmen first. Then they say yes to, and it goes to the RTM. There's an interview. Then it goes back to the selectmen for another interview, the 3 together. Then there's a swearing in, assuming every step along that way. So those steps are required to get from here to there. In December, that's going to be a little tight, be that as it may. Okay, thank you very much, Doug. Any questions on the nominating committee?
Do you have to be a Fairfield resident?
I believe so, yeah. I believe so.
Yeah.
You clearly have somebody who was not.
Well, yeah, because there's a lot of people involved with South Pearl Harbor who are not residents.
That's true.
So,
Website review, Mr. Hyman.
Yes. We made some small changes on the website, and I wanted to talk about first, before I talk about what they were, why we're looking at the website. One, started to become clear to me that the website has to really work well or can work well as a recruitment tool. If it's set up correctly, it can be forward-looking and robust and easy to navigate, or it can be, as it kind of was over time, a little backwards-looking and outdated and so forth. So I wanted to make sure that, to the extent we could, we refreshed the website, not overhaul it, not rebuild it, just tighten it up and update it. David Kelly, our director of IT, was very helpful to me in doing that. The other thing that occurred to me that we should be thinking about is organizations, whether they're political entities like ourselves or government entities like ourselves or private or nonprofits, have milestone moments. And when they're in the limelight and when people are interested in them more than at other times of the year. We had such a moment certainly during the dredging of Southport Harbor. We've had others before. And we have one coming up, the rebuilding of Lower Wharf, probably one of the most, if not, in my view, the most popular destination in town, and the related closing of Lower Wharf because of construction that will go on there for some period of time is a milestone moment when there will be a lot of attention and questions and so forth. And it behooves us to communicate about that correctly, proactively, and positively. So we have an opportunity to put in some article of some kind that probably repurposes our application to the Bond Commission for the bonding grant and some other information, adds some pictures, and kind of explains what happened, what we're doing, and what things are going to look like in the future. I think that would kind of address and anticipate questions that are likely to come up because it's such a popular place.
So you're saying have a place for recent events or notable, communications?
We kind of have that now. For example, if you open the website until recently, first thing you would see were tributes to past members, deceased members who have done wonderful things, Pat Carroll and others.
Yep.
I felt that was really important to have on the website, but not the first thing that you would see. So I created, with David Kelly's help, a Southport Harbor Heroes section that is slightly lower down. Moved all of that information to that. So it's there, but it's not the first thing you see. First thing you see is information about getting moorings now and stuff like that. There was also a section on dredging that was prepared in, I think, 2022 or current for 2022. So that was outdated. So we replaced that with links to the article that was in the First Selectman's newsletter that came out that covered that subject in a timely way, and some other articles that have been published in the news media. So someone had a current understanding of what's going on. And there's a photo gallery section on that you can go to on our website, and that can be refreshed, and we can, I think, add some new pictures there to that at the moment. And I'm sure Jeff did not do this, but like 6 pictures of Jeff on Jeff Stedman Day, and I know that he would. For one, they're all pictures of him. Why would he put them up? But I suspect that somebody else who may have retired did that, and in a very nice gesture. But I think we can enrich that section so that it has more variety and is more forward-looking and doesn't just focus.
Maybe at the next meeting we may walk through the website, bring it up on the screen.
We can do that. We can do that. And then finally, I felt it was important to have the correct, updated roles and duties section for the harbor master. We've acted, we've purchased a boat. The reasons that we purchased the boat are on record. The job has changed, the harbor has changed and evolved, and the roles and duties of the harbor master evolved somewhat as well too. So all that is now current on the website. the last description of the roles and duties of the harbor master and the assistant are clearly stated. So should questions come up, people have a frame of reference, that's correct. So that's, David Kelly is very prepared to do other small things like that. These are things that cost nothing to do, that just make the website slightly more friendly.
Great, thanks, Don. Any questions relating to the website? Moving now to the Harbor Master Boat Maintenance, and George, is there more than what we just talked about?
No, I don't have a lot prepared. I just wanted to start a conversation on how we would get this line item in for the maintenance, and particularly with the person that kind of agreed to it in the town is now no longer with the town, and what the budgeting process would be when we ask for that money, how much we're gonna ask for.
So we'll add a new line item under, in our budget, under Harbor Master, I guess, and then we'll talk about how we present that to the.
Yeah, can you come up with an idea of?
I was gonna send you an email.
Okay.
Because I talked to Rex, who does the police and the fire boats now, in town, and, they really cost.
Great.
I talked about the boat and what they think it would cost, so we can budget for budgeting purposes.
Good. Anything we need to think about other than fuel, maintenance?
Probably maybe a little equipment the first year, things like fenders. I have to come up with a way, whether I do fender boards, I'm gonna look at it where I wanna put it, so it doesn't bump into it, what the best is, instead of just dropping fenders. There's a few other ideas of things
Right.
we can do there, but other than that, I've got a lot of stuff on the other boat. I just accumulated over the years and just bring it with me, moving on to this boat. I have hailers and ropes and random lines, rather.
Okay.
Good stuff we need, please.
Yeah, that's all I had.
Great, thank you. Any other questions? Moving on now to Harbor Management Legislation Initiative. Mr. Stedman, could you update?
And I think Kim can also participate or add to this, but we had a meeting, I say we, representatives of several different harbor management commissions, New London, Greenwich, Stamford, Norwalk, Norwich, and then Kim representing this commission, to discuss an approach to working with the DEEP to achieve a legislative clarification of the harbor commissions, and not just a clarification, but to uphold the historical powers and duties. DEEP had said that they were willing to work with us, so we had this meeting prior to meeting with DEEP. Subsequently, which is subsequently yesterday, DEEP informed us that they're trying to set up a meeting with our committee and representatives, legislators from the Environment Committee. And I don't know that we want to do that now before we meet first with DEEP. But this is all in the works, and it affects the update of the harbor management plan. But I think we certainly have a logical and good case to make. And so thanks to Kim for participating, and we'll keep you informed. The next legislative session doesn't start until February of next year, but that's only a few months away.
Okay. Thank you very much. Jeff, Lower Wharf rebuild update, Mr. Stedman and Don Hyman.
I talked with Bill Hurley. He said that perhaps this Friday or Monday of next week, the materials for putting this out to bid will be forwarded to the purchasing department, and he thought that the project may go out to bid in November. There were some questions at the last meeting about the character of the railing, whether it would be flat or curved. With the idea that if the top of the railing around the pier was curved, it might discourage people from climbing up and jumping off the swimming. Bill said that now there are no plans to make a curved top. They were just replacing everything in the form and the shape of that it historically was. There was also a question about the surface that people would walk on, and Bill said that the surface would be wood planks, just as they have been, but no special surface. But that if there are issues that come up, this still could be discussed in the process of developing the contract with the contractor. But
Jeff, does the Historic Commission get involved in this at all?
they did, and they approved, these plans.
So moving to like an IPay flooring would be objectionable by them, or is that why?
I don't, Bill said that the idea was it was a historic structure, that replace it in the same form and with materials that it previously had.
That's what I meant, so maybe that was
It seemed to be
historical.
what Bill was implying, yes, that,
Okay.
but as we progress, we'll know more.
Got it.
I think there's a certain, fluidity on timing for things. I spoke with Bill too, and I think the hope was that they would have their bids out by the end of October, know where they were sometime in November, and possibly start construction, I was told, sometime in December. But he said, things been, nothing is certain until it's certain. It could be later than that. So he suggested, because he knew that he saw the draft of the letter that I prepared for your signature and approved that. He suggested that I check with him the last week in October.
Yeah, okay. I may give him a call myself.
There you go. It's fluid.
Good. Any further questions on the Lower Wharf? Thank you, Jeff. Mooring Committee.
Yes, so the mooring committee has not met, but for the past 3 or 4 months, we've had a little chaos without Betty here. So in terms of processing invoices and deposit receipts, so we're delighted to have Jen, and I've actually started to send her the documents to process those. So that's wonderful. Now we had hoped to put together a little report for November on our expenses for the last fiscal year and our revenues, and also kind of a balance sheet of our running balance of the 102 account, so that we could, in December or at the November meeting, possibly make any decisions that would be necessary about raising fees for the coming year. Now, I think it's really unlikely that we would recommend that, but if we're going to discuss that those things need to be discussed for the November meeting. So I don't know if Jan can supply those numbers.
Yes, I would just need the account numbers.
Okay.
I was trying to look into it today, but I wasn't able to look those accounts. So
Okay.
I don't know if I have to talk to Jen Carpenter, so I can have access to those accounts, to pay those.
Okay. So, I mean, if we could have like a whole P&L, that'd be great, but if not that, just a ledger of the whole year, we could just do it ourselves.
Okay.
And then a balance at the end of the fiscal year for our 102 account. And that's basically what we need.
Jeff, when was the last time we changed mooring fees?
I don't know, but it's been a long time.
Been a long time.
Yeah. And the reason I say it's really unlikely is that we have so much money in the 102 account that even after paying for the boat, we still have more than enough money to plan for any kind of catastrophe with moorings or whatever. So until we see that balance going down, I think it's unlikely that it would be prudent to raise fees. But
right.
Just to be prudent, we should look at everything. At least what you guys say.
So on moorings and upkeep and the costs associated with the moorings in Southport Harbor, I know that Pequot does all this work for us, and there's a thought that maybe it's been required, we haven't adhered to it, to get a written estimate of the costs associated with the upkeep every year before the work starts, and have this body, perhaps I think best process would have the mooring committee receive that and approve that and recommend to the board or the commission to approve the expenditure with Pequot. Just as best governance reasons, that's probably just the best way to approach. So I think we'll be getting, or you'll be getting, a document from Pequot stating what the costs are going to be.
Okay.
And of course,
you request that, or is someone else already communicated with you?
We're working on that. I'll take care of it. All right. But I'll make sure you get it.
Okay.
But I don't know. Are you aware of any questionable, or maybe you are, Brian, any big issues that may be coming up this year for the moorings?
This year is a helix year. Every third year we look at a third of the harbor. We do North Anchorage, helix, so-called town moorings in that order. So this year it's the helix year. So I don't see any big expenses coming with that process now.
Okay. So that's, I just wanted to make mention of that.
They're pretty stable, you know. Although the one thing is, this is, you know, we're also, Travis and I were just talking about this. This is, you know, we have, the helixes have been in for 10 years now. So they're kind of off cycle, or 9 years. They don't do multiples of 3. It's coming up on 10. And we may pull 2 of them out to see what they look like, because no one's looked at them in 10 years, and it's probably time we pull them out of the bedrock. Because remember, helixes are screwed in. They're not just mushrooms that you can easily pull out.
Yeah.
To see what they look like, to see their structure, and are they going to continue to be robust where they are, and before we have to consider replacing helixes.
Seems smart, but I mean, I guess the more, you know, we can be alert to something
That's
coming
why we're
along the
doing
way.
now to get the data now. We're thinking about doing it this year to get the data now. If we have to think about
When would that
replacing
start, do you think?
replacing them.
Or pulling them and inspecting?
Until the boats are up. We don't have a time yet. We have to.
A lot of the
But
boats went this
December,
weekend.
January, or?
Something like that.
Yeah.
It's a little bit early.
I think Saturday a lot of boats left, and, you
I
know,
know,
Monday,
tomorrow.
Tuesday, a lot of them left.
I saw the parade out Saturday.
So it's clearing out pretty quick.
Yeah. And the big, well, not big, and I think Kim knows about this, she could talk more, is next year with the docks replacement at the yacht club. That's gonna have an effect on the fall season as well. Boats coming out, we have an earlier jump because the boats may all have to be out of there by when construction starts, because the club is losing all its docks.
Yeah.
So Perry said something.
Ye-
Look at that come, that's another, Kim, I think you know about that, but Kim's, thank you for volunteering the club to do this.
Yeah, we'll want to make sure that the club coordinates well with the Harbor Management Commission and you to make sure that we know.
The yacht club doesn't have the permit yet, so, I mean, the idea, the general idea is that, yes, the season will be over early next year, but we don't have any dates and, because we don't even have the permit yet, so.
Okay, thank you very much. Any questions for Maureen? Moving on to plan of the POCD update, Mr. Stedman.
Well, I understand that the Town Plan and Zoning Commission adopted the update. It was a split vote. I guess there are still some questions that are being raised, but the comments of the Harbor Commission were not, I don't believe, included in any significant way. And there was no, the Coastal Vision document that we put together, which was an advisory document outside of the Commission's area of jurisdiction. That was not accepted or endorsed or made a part of the plan by reference. And I think that's concerning to a lot of people. Doesn't mean that in the future that can't be added, because the POCD can be updated at any time. But my opinion is that, you know, all the work that the town did on the shore area plan back in the 1980s, you know, that's sort of lost in the POCD. And here's a personal comment. On Saturday, I helped set up and participated in the Connecticut League of Conservation Voters 25th anniversary gathering at Penfield Pavilion. Very, very interesting. But standing on the deck behind the pavilion and looking at the expanse of public beach, you know, to the east, to Bridgeport and west, no other town has that expansive coastal public beach area. And that doesn't even include, you know, of course, the 4 estuaries that we talked about, or the marsh restoration program. And I had a very interesting, nice talk with Joy Shaw. I don't know if any of you know her. She's 94 years old now. She started the Mill River Wetlands Committee. And we had a very nice talk about the importance of trying to maintain the historical record of all these environmental initiatives, not just the Wetland Committee, but the Marsh Restoration Program, the Coastal Open Space Program. And I think you could make an argument that TP&Z was remiss in not emphasizing the significance of the town's shore area. But we did the work we could in an effort to be helpful, and maybe there's an opportunity to bring it up again, if working with maybe with the Conservation Commission and with others. But that's my report on that.
Can I ask a question? I watched twice the TPZ discussion on the harbor management plan submissions. Has anybody else seen the actual discussion at the TPZ hearing? So I'm the only one that's actually seen the discussion that took place. I would encourage you to look at it, because was actually a pretty robust discussion. Nobody was opposed to the specifics of what we were saying in either the Coastal Vision document or in the other information that we provided. They felt it was beyond the scope of the TPZ in some cases to deal with some of these things, and more in our situation and our turf. They settled on language, which I haven't seen printed, that said that they would cooperate fully with us per the statutes, and there were some other strategic elements of our content that they said that they were going to incorporate in the document. I haven't seen that, but I think in fairness, there was perhaps, without counting it, at least 20 minutes of discussion on October 7th devoted to Harbor Management Commission and the content that we provided. And there was a good back and forth debate. Commissioners Braun and Harrison and one other commissioner were particularly strong advocates. Nobody was antagonistic. They just felt it was more than it was necessary for their document.
You know, and maybe something to think about is we did, through Jeff's hard work, prepare a lot of information relating to this water area that we are representing and even beyond, and that I think is important work that could perhaps, be utilized in a way on our website, for example, or just simply, and maybe there's a brochure we can make. But when we think about that for the future, maybe next time we talk about this, we can speak about communication of our harbor and what waterway communication. Any questions on POCD further? Moving on now, Harbor Management Plan update. Ms. Taylor.
So, we met at 3:30. Jeff had reorganized some of the material on implementation from the current Chapter 6, created a new Chapter 8. We reviewed that very generally. It basically outlines the Harbor Management Commission's relationship to other town agencies and DEEP, citing the statutes that set up those relationships and those responsibilities. We've asked Jeff to provide now we've reviewed the whole plan. We've asked Jeff to provide us with a red line copy so that when we go to the various agencies and people who are responsible for approving it, we can say to them, this looks different because we've reorganized it, but these are the changes, these are the actual changes that we've made, and this is the material from Chapter 6 that's now Chapter 8, and we do have, so we'd like that, hopefully to make our case that this is a revision and not a complete rewriting of the plan, and hopefully get more approval more quickly. The other thing, we did create, as you recall, a new chapter on the Commission's potential position on various potential projects in and around the harbor in an effort to give this commission in the future the authority to comment on those kinds of projects in those kinds of areas. And the reason we needed to do that is, you'll recall, the Cohen decision, should that turn out to be the law of the harbor management world and deep permitting process in the future, the Cohen decision said that harbor commissions have no authority to comment on projects that seeking deep approval if those projects are not mentioned in the plan. So we created a new Chapter 7 that hopefully identifies potential projects and a general position on those kinds of projects. For example, no dredging in the outer harbor, those kinds of things, so that we would then have, future commissions would have the authority to comment too deep on those applications for projects. So we do have a completely new chapter called Chapter 7. The rest of the information that we've updated is, for example, the description of the harbor has changed dramatically since 1995. There was no community sailing program, for example. So we have there was no dredging to the 100-foot width. So we have literally updated the descriptions of the harbor and the activities that go on in the harbor. But as I said, now the step is the next steps are to create a document that is redlined so that we can show our legislators, the RTM, we can go to DEEP, and we have to go to the Connecticut Port Authority, those three bodies for approval. We'd like to be able to say, this is an update, not a new document. These are the changes that we've made, and we'd like you to approve it. So Jeff is going to be hard at work. We may meet several times more to review with him his updates and his red line copies, but basically we've been through it once, and we've created the outlines and the structure of what we hope will be the new plan.
Thank you, Kim. Any further comments? Any questions? Moving on to the status of transplanted vegetation area. Jeff.
Okay, the transplanted vegetation area, includes the plants that we had to move from the sandbar that would otherwise have been adversely affected by the dredging project, the rare plants identified by DEEP. Remember going back all the years, DEEP wouldn't let us transplant those plants, and that's why the harbor wasn't dredged for so long. But the most recent project, they allowed us to move the plants under the supervision of a professional botanist. And Kim and Bruce Keepner and others were volunteers, in effect, taking direction from the botanist, and also a number of people came from the Corps of Engineers when we did this last year. The transplanted area, the area of the transplants, is on the country club side, on the other side of the vegetation on top of the sandbar. We did that. We did not assess it. The DEP has asked questions about how the vegetation is doing or thriving. So we should have gone down over the summer to observe, the conditions of it. But we did beginning of this month. And so Bruce Keepner and I went down, and Bruce volunteered his time and effort. The first thing that was enabled us to breathe a sigh of relief is there's been no human disturbance of that area. Nobody drove over it or stored material on top of it. So the string fence that we had put around it had lessened in a few places, but we put some new stakes in, we tightened the strings, but there was no evidence of human disturbance, which is of course is a good thing. The Corps of Engineers environmental officer and project manager visited the next day. What day was that? That was October 9th, I believe. And we at first thought that it might be necessary, or we might ask the botanist. October 7th and 8th is when we did this, the botanist to visit and to give an opinion. But we were able to provide photographs of the plants and of the sites, so it wasn't necessary for the botanist to come. But this time of year, the plants that we transplanted are dormant. So it's really impossible to tell, even if you were on site, how many survived and how many didn't. But the key thing that he mentioned was there's no evidence of human disturbance. We thought we might also put a few simple plastic signs that I can have made up and attach them to some of the posts that we put around, plants, conservation area, something like that. Not to say keep out, but just to identify it as an area. But the Corps was satisfied with I guess, yes, again, we should have gone down during the summer, I guess, but we were remiss in doing that, but it didn't hurt us in any way. Because
does that conclude our responsibility in monitoring it?
I don't know. The Corps of Engineers was going to respond to DEEP, because DEEP had asked questions about the status of everything. And the Corps of Engineers wanted to visit the area before DEEP comes down to look at it.
So we stand by.
So we stand by on that.
Okay.
But I also want to thank Bruce, for volunteering his time to get some new stakes and new line to put around it. And again, going back to the volunteers that were involved in transplanting the plants last year, it was a good project. So we'll see what happens. Like you say, stand by.
Positive outcome, stand by. Any questions on the vegetation issue? Now we move into new business. Recent changes to DEEP's public hearing process. DEEP, or is it is DEEP, or are we talking about the Port Authority?
No, it's DEEP, and I apologize for talking so much here, but we just learned this in some other towns last month. But historically, when there has been a permit application to DEEP, not the certificate of permission applications that we talked about with the Tide Mill Dam, but a permit, like the yacht club's permit for the docks. There's been an automatic provision for a public hearing upon the receipt of 25 signatures. We didn't realize that procedure was changed as of a law that took place last legislative session. And as of June of this year, it isn't an automatic public hearing. The petitioners have to demonstrate that they have some legal right or interest that would be adversely affected. But there would be what's called an informational hearing where people can talk and then DEEP will decide what to do. So that really changes the whole regulatory process. We're not experienced here in any major projects all the time, but in other towns it's a significant issue when there are complex projects and historically the concerned neighbors and environmental groups can petition for a hearing. That hearing is not automatic anymore. So there's some approaches to trying to deal with this that the town of Greenwich is working on, the Harbor Commission in coordination with the Shellfish Commission, but right now that's not something that's immediately affecting us. Whether it does in the future, I'm thinking about possible dock developments over at Kenzie's Point. But we'll see. We'll see how that. But the act that created this change is called the Public Act to Enhance Environmental Permitting Predictability, which means, I guess, you expedite the process a little bit. But so we'll see what happens.
Any questions on the DEEP hearings process? Hearing none, we move on to new applications. Do we have any new applications to consider? Any comments from the public today?
Can I say something, Chairman?
Please.
Yes, Michael Nishball, 67 Middlebrook Place. It's for the nominating committee. Shortly after the last meeting that you guys had, I presented myself to the body, and then I went and made that application online with the town. And I hadn't received a confirmation that, I hit send and then wasn't sure it went out there to anybody. So just put that out there that there has been an application as of last mid-September.
When I did it, I don't remember getting any confirmation either, but
And there have been others in addition to Michael who have done the same thing.
Yeah. So we'll follow up after this meeting with the town on all the applications and
Sure.
then follow up.
Yeah,
Thank you.
resume attached and the whole, everything they asked for should have been there.
Would you, just for my benefit, would you mind spelling your last name?
Yeah, N as in Nancy, ISHBALN.
Thank you.
Very good. Any further comments from the public? Hearing none, we stand adjourned. Thank you very much, everybody. Have a good evening.